Did you know that it takes 3,000 cows to supply the NFL with enough leather for a year's supply of footballs? That's a whole lot of cows. Man, our nation, rise up.
Are you ready for the best damn radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that then. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know what's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're after dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your boy BC Beastie Brandon Combs. Welcome to the best damn sports radio show on the planet. Looking for the button there. There it goes. How is everybody doing tonight? It is a beautiful Thursday night. We've got a lot of stuff going on tonight. We're going to dive deep into the NFL playoffs. We're going to talk about the Denver Broncos up for sale. $4 billion. Billion with a B. $4 billion for the Denver Broncos. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about my boy, John Lester, retiring, getting into the playoffs. And as always, if you have not yet done so, please click like, share, and subscribe on whichever platform you're watching us on. If you're watching us on Roku TV, you like what you see, you can head over to youtube.com/Man Hour. You can subscribe for as little as $2.99 a month and become a member of Man Hour Nation. Once you're a member, head on over to manhourradio.com, click on the merchandise tab, and get yourself some hot Man Hour gear. We have hats, shirts, hoodies, joggers, phone cases, much more. And now that I've tried to pay the bills, it's time to welcome my co-host for the evening. He is none other than my boy, Wayne G. Wayne, what's going on, buddy?
What's up? I love the new video intro. Get a little Hamilton picture in there. You still got the Skippy intro music, though.
Yeah, it's the video that Buck put up. I was like, man, it's a little much. And he's like, I'm gonna run with it. I was like, all right, well, that's pretty much Buck style. If it's too much, Buck's running with it, right?
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Hey, that's all that matters is that people are looking at it and catching on and getting into it. So, Wayne, man, why don't you, before we get started, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you at?
Well, check us out on Good Pods or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, but definitely Good Pods. That's the only place that we promote. You can give us 5 stars for every single episode. We are Recasted. Got my shirt on here. Recasted podcast. We take movies that are at least 20 years old. We recast them with modern day actors and actresses. The newest episode that came out was Ocean's 11. The newest episode coming out is Jesse and I are going to recast the Indiana Jones trilogy. We don't count Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And we are recasting all 3 movies at one time.
All right. And I've gotten in on a lot of you guys' stuff, a lot of the voting. I always talk with you, Jesse. That's my guy Jesse. He's been kicking your butt a little bit. I've told you I'll get on there with you. We'll do a sports movie. We were talking a little bit about some baseball movies to do. So we'll definitely get something going here relatively soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I know you pitched, I think, for Love of the Game, which I love the movie. I just don't think there's enough people to recast in it.
I gotcha. I think that if you rewatched the movie, I think you would realize there's more people there than you realized. Like more characters are in that movie than you think are in that movie.
Like you say, rewatch it. Like I haven't already watched it 10 times. And it's a baseball movie. Any baseball movie I'm going to watch multiple times. Not only that, Garth Brooks is on the soundtrack, man. I mean, I got to watch it.
Yeah, I know. You're a big Garth Brooks guy. Big Garth Brooks guy. But we're going to get into some headlines here. Have you heard about the Denver Broncos yet?
I did. It was in the rundown you sent me yesterday.
Yeah. So is that the first time you had heard about it?
That is, yeah, I hadn't heard about it before that.
Yeah. So $4 billion is estimated what the Denver Broncos are going to sell for. And it's going to be more than any franchise has ever sold for ever. And to me, I'm like, wow, really? The Denver Broncos are going to be the highest sold franchise of all time. And then it got me thinking, man, I wonder if I had all that money, would I ever spend $4 billion on anything? Would you ever spend $4 billion on one single item?
Something like this, absolutely. First of all, it's an appreciating asset. You have to look at Jerry Jones bought the Dallas Cowboys for $280 million. Now they're worth $6.5 billion. Robert Kraft paid $142 for the Patriots. They're worth $5 billion. This team was appraised at $3.2 billion last May before the NFL had its highest rating since 2015. So the $4 billion is right on the mark. It's going to be worth $8 billion 10 years from now. So absolutely, I would invest in it just as an investment property. But not only that, I would be very Jerry Jones hands-on this. I'd be like, hey, listen, guys, why are we getting this guy? Why aren't we getting this guy? Have we made an offer to this guy?
Yeah. I would, if I had $4 billion, I would probably pitch something to buy the Bears. So that way McCaskey no longer owned them. I would probably try to do something to get my hands on the Cubs or something like that. And I would be just like, I would be a Jerry Jones type owner because I would be very hands-on. I mean, I would obviously, find some people who are, football people or baseball people to help me run the show. But I think I would feel like I knew enough to try to get my hands dirty in it as well, and be interesting to see. But look, we're average Joes, so of course we would love to own a franchise, and we would always think that we could get into it, right? That's the whole thing behind playing Madden franchise mode and all that stuff, right? So my Madden franchise mode, Bears have won the Super Bowl in like 20 straight seasons.
Well, my philosophy is anything Mark Davis can do, I can do better.
Look, anything Mark Davis could do, anything Virginia McCaskey can do, anything that I'm trying to think of some terrible owners. You look at the Dan Snyder. God, there's been some really bad owners throughout sports. But no, it's $4 billion for the Denver Broncos to me is a lot. And then I hear that John Elway and Peyton Manning are both going to be bidding on the team through separate groups nonetheless. So you've got the two greatest quarterbacks to ever lace them up for the Denver Broncos are going to be competing against each other to buy the Denver Broncos. So I'm just wondering now if a new ownership, say it's John Elway or say it's Peyton Manning, does that bring the Denver Broncos back to prominence, back to the team that is always competing? Does a new owner do that for them? Especially since it already seems like they have the tools to be a pretty damn good team. I think Vic Fangio got a little bit of a raw deal here in Denver, getting let go. Didn't have a quarterback all season that could stay healthy. Drew Lock looked like he picked it up towards the end, but he had him in a playoff hunt. And so I just wonder if the Denver Broncos having a new owner is really going to alter where they're at.
I don't think so. Not unless the owner is extremely hands-on. But if it's just somebody who's coming in and they're just going to trust their football people, they've got good football people in place, just let them do their jobs. And the Broncos will get back to where they need to get back to, and then they'll get bad again, and then they'll get good again. Like every other NFL team except for New England. There's only one team in the history of the league that stays good and never is bad. And that's an anomaly. Like that's not supposed to happen. Like teams are supposed to be good then bad. Right now, the Broncos are bad, but like you said, I think they're on the upswing. I mean, they look like they've got a promising future.
Yeah, they really do. I like Teddy Bridgewater, and we've talked on the show a few times about Teddy Bridgewater and wondering if there's something that nobody knows about with Teddy Bridgewater, right? Because he's always seems to be that quarterback that the team has no problem with parting ways for another quarterback for. And that makes you wonder whether or not there's something in the locker room. Do they see something in his leadership? Is there something that we're not seeing? Because as far as skills wise, as far as when he's on the field, he seems like a solid starting quarterback to me, like a guy who can lead a franchise and head to a playoffs, maybe even win a Super Bowl at some point. But everywhere he goes, Teddy Bridgewater they're okay. When he was in Minnesota and he got hurt, they let him go pretty easily to move on to Kirk Cousins, right? And then when he's in Carolina, he goes to Carolina not Carolina, the New Orleans Saints. He goes, I think, what did he go with the Saints that year? I think he went like 4-0 when Drew Brees was hurt. And then they're like, all right, cool, we got Jameis Winston. Bye, Teddy. So he goes to Carolina. And then Carolina 1 year, and they're like, all right, cool, we're shipping you off to Denver because we got our guy from the New York Jets, and we believe that he's better than you. So everybody seems to be okay with letting Bridgewater go. There's got to be something different there. Is he one of those guys that you think that the Broncos can, especially if a guy like Peyton Manning or a guy like John Elway are in the room every single day, you feel like there's somebody, those type of owners could bring a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, or you think that they're going to end up going away from him?
I think they're going to go away from him. And it's nothing against him. Everything I've heard about Teddy Bridgewater is he's an amazing human being. Like, he's up for the Walter Payton Award every year. He's a leader in the locker room. The reason that people move on from Teddy Bridgewater, and the reason the Broncos are going to move on from Teddy Bridgewater, and superfan Drew and I were talking about this off the air, is the fact that he doesn't pass the eye test. Because the players that pass the eye test are guys who can throw 60 yards on a rope. That's not Teddy Bridgewater. I want to name some names here. Teddy Bridgewater, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins. All are very good quarterbacks. They just aren't going to wow you with their arm strength. They're not incredibly athletic. So when you watch them, they're boring. And so it's easy to move on from them and get a guy like a Trey Lance who can throw the ball 70 yards. Doesn't matter whether he's accurate or not. You know, he passes the eye test. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't pass the eye test, but if you put him in a system like a Josh McDaniels type system, he's going to do really, really good.
Yeah, and look, I mean, all those quarterbacks that you just named, I wouldn't even take over Jameis Winston, who's a top 10 quarterback in the league. And so I myself, like, with some of those guys are easy to move on. I actually think, and it's one of my my little things that I threw up last week as far as quarterback carousel goes, I actually think that you're going to see Minnesota and San Francisco make a deal of Kirk Cousins for Jimmy G this offseason, because I think the Niners are ready to move away from Jimmy G, even though they're in the playoffs. I think that they are ready to move on from Jimmy G. I think their coach is ready to move on from Jimmy G. And I think the Vikings are ready to move on from Kirk Cousins. Both of them are viable quarterbacks. Both of them are good, and both of them fit each other's system very well. So I think that you're going to see something like that in the offseason.
Yeah, doesn't that make a lot of sense? It's like, hey, look, I got a tennis ball. Well, what'd you trade for it? A tennis ball. Okay, so we have the same thing.
But see, your tennis ball didn't really bounce the way I liked it to bounce, and my tennis ball does bounce the way that you like it to bounce. So here, you take yours, I'll take this one, and we'll go our separate ways.
Now, both those tennis balls bounce the same exact way. They just have different logos. One's a Penn tennis ball, and one's a Wilson.
Yeah, well, look, I think Kirk Cousins doesn't get his just due, and I'll say that I joke around with a couple of guys who are Minnesota Vikings fans, and I joke around with them about Kirk Cousins all day long. I think Kirk Cousins is a top 15 quarterback in the league. I think Kirk Cousins is a very underrated quarterback in the league. Same the way I think of Derek Carr is a very underrated quarterback in this league. They put up the numbers with very little help. They put up the numbers with teams surrounding them with bad defenses, and it makes them look worse than what they are. Their numbers for what they're doing with the teams that they've been on really aren't that bad.
Yeah, well, I think, again, they don't pass the eye test. And like I said, what it comes down to is, like, the GM says, hey, what can you do? And they say, well, if you put me in there, then every single year that you have me, I'm going to complete 70% of my passes for 4,000 yards. All right, what can you do? I can throw 30 interceptions, but I throw the ball really far. Oh, that sounds good to me.
All right, so I'll be remiss if we don't get to this before we go to break. So I want to get to this real quick. Everybody knows that I'm a baseball guy. Everybody knows that I'm a Cubs fan. I love this game. I love this team. And yesterday, John Lester retired. John Lester, key cog in ending my suffering as a Cubs fan, ending 108 years of ineptitude with the Cubs and winning that World Series. A key member of the Red Sox, the 2008 and 2013 World Series champs. And this guy, to me, is a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. I know a lot of people disagree with me, and I've heard it all, for the last 2 days on Chicago sports radio. Even some of these guys disagreeing with me, even though, they have John on their show and they're kissing his butt while he's on their show, but then saying he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, this guy, 200 wins, I think 117 losses, 3 World Series victories. He had a couple of times where he finished second or third in the Cy Young voting. He was the NLCS MVP in 2016. He was a guy who especially in the playoffs, just was lights out and would shut you down quick. He was the guy you wanted on the mound if you had a game to win in October. And so, to me, the numbers, the accolades, survived cancer, plus not to mention he's a likable guy, right? You can probably throw him in the Curt Schilling category of Hall of Fame maybes, but the fact that he is that guy that everybody just enjoys being around, everybody enjoys talking to, I think that kind of is going to put him in the next category. I would vote for him first ballot. I would have voted for Curt Schilling first ballot. What do you think? Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Well, the funny thing for me is I think you're either a first ballot Hall of Famer or you shouldn't get it at all.
I agree.
The reason is because, you said, what? So you didn't get in this year. What did you do the next 2 years? Pad your stats while you were retired? You didn't get any better. Your stats are still the same. So either you're good enough to get in or you're not good enough to get in. But then I think it comes down to the first ballot, and I definitely think he's fringe as far as getting in. And then it depends on who you subscribe to, because I'll give you 2 of his contemporaries in terms of statistics, and that is Curt Schilling. You brought him up. Curt Schilling actually has better stats than John Lester, and yet he's not in yet. He's been on the ballot 9 times. Now, I know that he's been abrasive with the sports writers who are the ones that vote him in, and Lester has not been. So then you look at Roy Halladay, right? So Roy Halladay has similar statistics to John Lester, and he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. The big difference is he won 2 Cy Young awards. Lester didn't win any. And so,
and he died the year before he was eligible to be on the ballot.
Yeah, so there might have been some sympathy votes.
Crappy about.
But he was a dominant pitcher. He
was. Yeah.
He led pitchers in WAR, I think, 6 times. Lester never did.
No hitter in the playoffs. He was unbelievable.
So I think that's where he falls, I guess, in between, Schilling and Halladay. So that's why I think he's a fringe Hall of Famer. His numbers, he doesn't have 3,000 strikeouts. He just has 200 career wins. His ERA is 3.66. It's not overwhelming. So I don't know if he deserves to get in. He might get in because, he's a very nice guy, and the whole cancer survivor thing, maybe that's the sympathy gets him pushed in.
Yeah.
But if it's me, I probably wouldn't vote for him because it's not the Hall of Very Good, and he was very good.
Yeah, see, I've heard that a lot over the last 2 days. Hall of Very Good. I get the argument against it because I do. I look at his numbers, and when I look at his numbers, if it was anybody other than John Lester, I might hesitate. I wouldn't hesitate with a guy like Curt Schilling. I wouldn't have hesitated with Roy Halladay. So I don't think I would have hesitated with John Lester anyway. I know the ERA, 3.66 ERA, but you also look at the era that he played in, how good he was for so long. I think that the playoff accolades get him there. Hell, that's the reason why you would put a Curt Schilling in, right? Is because of his playoff dominance and the way he pitched in the postseason. Because if you just look at his regular season numbers, you're like, but then you get him into the postseason and you're like, oh, wow. Which those numbers and those stats don't go into the record books. Those aren't a part of your career ERA or your career wins and your career losses. Those are numbers that don't really count towards anything except for the eye test. And to me, that puts those guys above, just being the Hall of Very Good. And that, to me, puts them in the Hall of Fame. So that's where I'm at with them.
Yeah, they're fringe. And people are going to lean one way or the other. For me, I lean away because I'm putting them up against Pedro, Maddox, Nolan Ryan, even Roger Clemens, who should be in there. These are the guys that I'm putting them up against. And I feel like if they shouldn't even be allowed to carry those guys' bags, I don't want to let them in with those guys.
But see, I would put Lester and Schilling and Roy Halladay on a level with Greg Maddux. I could put him on a level with
like
a Pedro
7
Martinez.
Cy Young awards.
Well, I get the Cy Young awards, yes, but I mean, I'm talking about like for dominance and for the way that they were. I mean, did Greg Maddux just chill people to death in October? No, because the Braves only won one World Series. So he wasn't one of those guys where, to me, I get it. And look, I love Greg Maddux. I really do. I think that I could, if you said, hey, you got one game to win, it's game 7. Do you want Greg Maddux, Roy Halladay, or John Lester, or Curt Schilling pitching for you? I'm not so sure that Greg Maddux is my first choice.
He's my second choice behind Pedro. Pedro is the only guy I'm taking ahead of Greg Maddux.
That's interesting. We'll save that topic for another time. We are running up on the break, but I do want to get to this last one. If he does go in to Hall of Fame, which hat is he wearing? Cubs or Red Sox? We could probably throw the A's and the Cardinals out of it, right? Because he pitched for like 3 minutes in both cities. So, in Washington. But Cubs or Red Sox, which hat you put him in?
It's the Red Sox. And what's funny is if you look at their stats compared, like Cubs and Red Sox winning percentage, 636 and 636. Cubs versus Red Sox in ERA, 3.64 and 3.64. So they're identical there, but he pitched 500 more innings with the Red Sox. He had 400 more strikeouts. He goes in as a Red Sox player.
Yeah, he won 2 World Series as opposed to 1 as a Red Sox player with the Cubs. I probably, I'd love to see him go in with a Cubs hat. I'd actually love to see him go in with a split cap. Because I think both fan bases love him just as much. He is beloved here in Chicago. I mean, this guy, when he left town, when he did not resign as a free agent, he bought everybody in Chicago around. If you went to a bar that night and you said, put it on John's tab, and it was all throughout Chicago, John Lester picked up a tab that was, I think it was something like $300,000 that he ended up paying for the bar tab because he bought everybody's beers that night. I mean, it's absolutely insane what he did and the type of person that he is. And so for me, it's, obviously sentimental. I love John Lester. I loved watching him. I love his story. I loved watching him his entire career. Even when he was in Boston, I enjoyed watching him play. So it doesn't matter to me which hat he goes into. He'll always be a Cub to me. And so for, I don't really care. I don't have an opinion one way or the other which hat he should go in as.
Yeah, I don't care. I actually think the players should be allowed to pick whatever the hat they want. If he wants to be a national, he should be a national.
They did that until Wade Boggs. Yeah,
should have gotten that Tampa Bay Rays hat on.
Yeah, that's what Wade Boggs wanted, and that's why they changed the rule. It used to be pick your hat, and right up until Wade Boggs had it written in his contract that he would, or try to get it written in his contract that he would wear a Rays cap into the Hall of Fame. They put the kibosh on that. So we're going to get to our first break here. And then when we come back, we are going to dive deep into the NFL playoffs. You ain't going to want to miss this. I've got some upset picks. I don't know if Wayne G does. He doesn't quite have the cojones I do. We'll see. Be back 2 minutes. we are back. It is time to dive deep into the playoffs. As you guys see the bracket up here, we've got a lot of good matchups here in the wild card round. Packers and Titans await their fate, and we are going to tell them right now who they're going to be playing. Well, maybe in a few minutes anyway. It's wild card preview time, and this is what we do best. So Wayne G, let's hop right into it, man. We've got the first game of the weekend, Saturday afternoon game, Raiders versus Bengals. Who has a better game, Derek Carr or Joe Burrow?
Oh, boy. I think probably Joe Burrow. He's just got more weapons to throw to. He's got Joe Mixon back there to run the ball. His offensive line is repaired. He's had a very good year so far this year. I just think that he's going to have the better game, and I think he's the better quarterback, which is really hard for me to say because I've been a Derek Carr supporter for years now, and I still think he's great. And I hated Joe Burrow in the draft because he had one good year in college. Now, granted, it's the greatest year in the history of college quarterbacks, but it was one good year. And I was like, I don't know if he can do it. And then I've been wrong. Like, Joe Burrow is absolutely the real deal. He's probably going to be the best quarterback in the NFL in 5 years. And here we go. We start his playoff career on Saturday. I think he beats the Raiders, and I think that he has a better game.
Can you say that one more time? You were what about Joe Burrow?
Oh, yeah, I was wrong. Hey, I get wrong every once in a while. I was wrong with that one.
You were wrong on that one. I remember, when we talked about it, I thought Joe Burrow would be good in the league. I thought Joe Burrow was an excellent pick. The one that I thought was going to be a bust and has been a bust has been Trevor Lawrence. I was not wrong about Trevor Lawrence, by the way.
Well, you are wrong. It isn't even like there's not even waiting time. You are wrong.
No, I was correct about Joe Burrow. Look at the numbers. He's closer to Ryan Leaf than he is to Tom Brady.
He's
all right.
Not as bad as Peyton Manning, but
all right. So, look, I think Joe Burrow is going to have the better game as well. I think that the Raiders always find a way to just disappoint you when you expect them to do well. This is Cincinnati, and I've been talking about this team for weeks now. This team is the real deal, and they were the hardest team to figure out for a long time throughout this NFL season. You couldn't tell which team was going to show up on any given week. When you expected them to get blown out, they would find a way to win the game, and sometimes they would even blow out the other team that you thought were going to blow them out. And then there were games where you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna walk away with this one, and they would find a way to lose it. And so they were a hard team to figure out, and then down the stretch, they just started clicking on all cylinders. The Cincinnati Bengals are the real deal. Jamar Chase is the real deal. Joe Burrow is the real deal. Joe Mixon is having a hell of a season. This defense is playing better. The offensive line is playing really well in front of Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. This Cincinnati Bengals team is the absolute real deal. Now, that being said, what is the Oakland Raiders' chance to win? What is their key to victory?
Josh Jacobs has to have more than 20 carries. Because when he has more than 20 carries, he runs for 100 yards and they win. When he has less than 20 carries, he runs for under 100 yards and they are 50-50. So if you want to win, you have to control the game. Don't let Joe Burrow get on the field and let Josh Jacobs carry 30 times.
Yeah, to me, the Raiders' key to victory here is going to be defense. How do they contain Joe Burrow? How do they contain Jamar Chase? And how do they contain Joe Mixon? One of those guys is going to eat, and the defense has to pick and choose which one. I think that if they allow Joe Mixon to eat and contain Chase and contain Burrow, they are going to have an okay day. That is their chance to win. You've got to contain the pass game, force them to run the ball, and that's how the Raiders win this game. What do you think the Bengals' key to victory is?
Make Derek Carr throw it deep. Take away his underneath routes, take away his short passes. He does not have a strong arm. If you make him throw it over 15 yards every time, I think you're going to force turnovers.
Yeah, to me, the Bengals' key to victory is Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow is able to have time in the pocket, able to allow Jamar Chase to get open, able to give himself time to read his receivers, to read his checkdowns, and to not be running for his life, the Bengals are going to be all right in this game. That's what I think is going to happen. I'll be completely honest with you. I think the Bengals are going to be just fine in this game. And I think that the Bengals win this one. And I think that it's not even a close game. I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. And I'm going to take them 34-20.
See, now I think that this was the issue that I was running into when I was doing these in my head, is that in theory, the opposite key should be the exact opposite of whatever you picked for the key for the first team. And you just did that, right? So you're like, so the key for the Bengals is the Bengals offense has to go off. Now the key for the Raiders, don't let the Bengals offense go off, which is obviously their exact opposite keys. So I just tried to pick two completely different keys that had nothing to do with each other. That's just me though. And I picked the Bengals 31-17.
So we both have 14-point victories. We're both thinking along the same lines. That's kind of a scary thought because we usually don't do that. But hey, I like it. I'm looking over here in the comment section, looking to see what the listeners are saying. It looks like Havoc and Buck are talking about the Titans right now. So I don't know who they're picking because they're talking Titans. So we're going to move on then. Havoc and Buck, if you guys want to let us know who you think is actually going to win the game we're talking about, I mean, that'd be great since you're not listening and you're just having your own conversation in the chat. Appreciate that, gentlemen. Just kidding. But anyway, we've both got the Bengals winning by 14. Drew has the Bengals winning this game as well. Would you have thought prior to the season that you'd have been picking the Bengals to win a playoff game this season?
Yeah. I mean, I thought Jamar Chase was a great ad. I thought Joe Burrow coming back healthy for week 1, that was huge because I thought he wasn't going to come back till mid-season with that injury.
Yeah. I didn't think. I thought they were going to be better than they were last year, but I thought maybe 8 or 9 wins. I didn't think that they were going to be in the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to be as good as they are. Alpha Rob says he's thinking Raiders. Alpha Rob, stop thinking. Havoc says Raiders. And Buck says Raiders are the worst team hands down in the playoffs. That's an interesting take. But yeah, I like the Raiders, or I'm sorry, the Bengals to knock off the Raiders in this one. So moving on, we've got the the Patriots and the Bills on Saturday night. It's going to be a fun game. I'm kind of upset that it's the Saturday night game because now I have to choose between Patriots and Bills or UFC, and that's a tough choice for me. So what? Oh man, my whole thing just crashed on me here. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Which team is better equipped for cold weather?
So this seems like a trick question, right? Because, Mac Jones played at Alabama. He's from Florida. He's never been in the playoffs in the cold. Josh Allen has been in the playoffs in the cold, and he's had a great year. He had a great year last year. So that means that the Patriots are better equipped for the cold weather playoff game because we saw what happened in the windy weather playoff game, which was the Patriots absolutely mauled them on the ground. And that's what they're going to do in this game. The colder it is, the worse it is for the Bills because the Patriots' two-headed running back monster is going to pound the hell out of that defensive line.
Well, see, the difference between you and me is in January, in the playoffs, I can never be called a homer because my team's never in it. So you're going with the Patriots here. I do think that that's a little bit of a homer pick, especially the way that the Bills handled them in their game in Foxborough. I do, recognize the game that they played earlier in Buffalo and, the rough time that Buffalo had stopping the run game and the fact that, quarterback for New England, Mac Jones. That Mac Jones only had to pass the ball 3 times because the run game was so dominant.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be a 50-mile-an-hour wind game. It is going to be colder than it was that day, but the wind's not going to be there. It's not going to affect the passing game like it did that day. I think Buffalo's passing game, I think Buffalo is back clicking on all cylinders. I think their defense is more capable of stopping Mac Jones than the Patriots defense is of containing the Bills offense. So I am going to go with the Buffalo Bills in this one. What would be a key to victory for you for the Buffalo Bills?
The key for the Buffalo Bills is don't turn the ball over. The Patriots are one of the best defenses at getting turnovers. And if you lose the turnover battle to the Patriots, you're going to lose the game. Buffalo's not good enough to turn the ball over and win.
Yeah. So for the Buffalo Bills, the key to me is going to be Josh Allen. How does Josh Allen do with his legs? And is he able to escape the pressure that the Patriots are going to bring? Because that Patriots defense is no joke. That Patriots defense, and to your credit, Wayne, you've been singing their praises since before the season. You were all over this Patriots team saying how good they were going to be, and you gave your reasons why, and the defense was a big reason for that. And, I think that the key here is just going to be how do they escape the pressure that the Patriots are going to get it. They're going to get their pressure. They're going to beat your front seven because they're that damn good, and they're going to blitz you, and they're going to force you to try to make mistakes. And so for me, it's going to be Josh Allen and his legs. What is your key to victory for the Patriots?
Play a shallow underneath zone. So the Patriots play more man-to-man defense than any other team in the NFL by a lot. And they do a great job playing man-to-man. The corners can cover anybody. The problem is that when they blitz, and they blitz great, they don't contain the outside edge, and they give up running lanes to the quarterbacks, and Josh Allen can run. So you need to run a short underneath pass like zone, keep Josh Allen from running, and at the same time make him throw it over the zone, which in cold weather, tight muscles, that's going to be hard.
Yeah, it's funny. You just said that sometimes people give their one take for one team, and then they give the exact opposite take for the other team because they coincide. And then I gave you my take, and your take just happens to be the exact opposite of my take, even though we didn't know what each other's takes were before coming onto the show. So it just kind of cracked me up there a little bit. Speaking of cracking me up, I got to address this real quick. Damian Dresser says, why in the flying bleep did I get a notification from Buck saying TJ Watt is overrated? Well, I can answer that for you very simply, Damian. It's because Buck is out of his mind. And Buck says stupid stuff all the time. He is Buck. That's what he does. You're probably a Steelers fan, so he was probably trying to get under your skin. Don't listen to him. He's an idiot. He's Buck. TJ Watt is overrated. Anyway.
What do you got for a score there, Chief?
I've got the Buffalo Bills winning this one. I've got it 27-23.
I've got 2017 Patriots.
Shocker.
2 rushing touchdowns and a field goal.
Homer.
Okay.
All right. So we've got you said Mike Buckeye, so you need to be a Jacksonville fan because that's a clown comment. I don't disagree with Damian Dresser here, Buck. It's a clown comment. All right, so moving on. We've got the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Does playoff Lenny show up again?
No, he doesn't need to. I think with the addition of Le'Veon Bell, you can split the running back carries. He's starting to warm up. He scored a touchdown there the last game of the season. So, and you've got a healthy Mike Evans. You've got a healthy Rob Gronkowski. We don't need playoff Lenny. I mean, if he does show up, that's fine, but I don't think he will because I think they're going to split those carries and those, especially the receiving back yards, are all going to go to Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, look, I think this is going to be a closer game than a lot of people are anticipating. I think that the last time that the Buccaneers played the Eagles, they beat the Eagles by 6 points. And that was very early in the season. That was before the Eagles got healthy. That was when the Eagles didn't know who they were. It was a completely different Eagles team. I think that this game is going to be a lot closer. I think playoff Lenny does need to show up. I think playoff Lenny is going to need to run the ball. They're going to need to control the clock, especially in the second half, to try to fend off a Philadelphia Eagles team that is really believing in themselves right now and really thinks that they have a chance coming into this game. So what are your keys for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Jalen Hurts has to outplay Tom Brady. Now, it's not impossible. We saw Nick Foles do it in the Super Bowl, threw for like 550 yards. It can be done. I just don't think Jalen Hurts is that guy. But in order for the Eagles to win, Jalen Hurts has to be the best quarterback on the field.
Yeah, and that's not possible. I mean, you're going up against Tom Brady. When your name is Jalen Hurts, you're not going to be the better quarterback on the field, even if you win this game. But for me, it's Miles Sanders. And I know I see Buck's comment here talking about Miles Sanders is back. Look, Miles Sanders to me has to have a 20-touch game here. He's got to have 100 yards rushing. He's got to be able to control the clock and keep the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense at bay as best as they can. That is going to be the key here. I'm not so sure it'll work, but that is their key to victory. What is Tampa's key to victory?
Show up prepared. That's it. I think they're the better team by far. Just show up prepared. If you take this game lightly, it could be a trap game. I think Brady's been there enough times. He's got them ready.
Yeah, and look, I never, ever count out Tom Brady. I never bet against him in the playoffs. It's just, to me, it's Tom Brady. And a Tom Brady-led team, I don't think will ever take an opponent lightly. I don't think they ever really have a trap game because he doesn't allow that mindset that they can't beat anybody that they step on the field with. He doesn't allow them to believe that the Philadelphia Eagles are inferior. Hell, he said it in his press conference earlier in the week. He said, I think this is going to be a great matchup. He's like, I really love this Philadelphia Eagles team. The Eagles also have a victory over Tom Brady in January. Well, actually, technically February because it was a Super Bowl. But the Eagles are a team that much like the New York Giants in the postseason, that it's just kind of a chip on your shoulder, right? Different team, different quarterback, all that stuff, different head coach. But it's just one of those things where would you be surprised if something crazy happened and they were able to pull it off, especially in an NFL where we talk about all the time that this NFL this season is probably the most competitive season from top to bottom that we've seen in a long time. And so for me, Tom Brady not letting his team show up unprepared, Tom Brady being on the field, Tom Brady leading his team. I think Tom Brady actually has to engineer a late game winning drive to win this game. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm going to go 23-20.
Well, I love the redundancy because you're like, would you be surprised if something crazy happened? Who's not surprised if something crazy happens? If you're not surprised, I guess it wasn't that crazy, was it?
But is it a surprise in today's NFL with how good all the teams are? There's so much parity in this league right now that I'm not so like, is there a team, can you point to one team that you could sit there and say, you know what? It doesn't matter who they play, they're winning the Super Bowl.
Well, I don't think any year you can.
Well, yeah, I mean, last year, everybody before the playoffs picked it was going to be Tampa Bay and Kansas City. That was everybody's pick because those were the two best teams in the NFL. We don't have that this year. You can't say, hey, it's going to be these two teams in the NFL because even Tom Brady and the Buccaneers can be beat. And you're looking at this playoff bracket, and you're like, wow, every team in here is just as good as the team that they are playing. And that includes the Eagles and the Buccaneers.
No, it does not. But all right.
Okay. All right.
Bucks 38-6.
What?
Yep.
38-6?
Yep. 2 field goals for Philadelphia.
Wow. That is... Wow. You just blew my mind with that. That is... First of all, that would be disappointing because I will just be waiting for the kickoff of Niners and Cowboys by halftime, and then the second half will just seem like it takes forever. But 38-6. Would it surprise any of you out there listening? I see Damian Dressler in there. He says Eagles have to control the ball, no turnovers, and force Bucks turnovers. Buck says, yes, keep that Bucks offense off the field. Buck, Damian, you guys chiming in. Would you guys be surprised if the Buccaneers won 38-6? That needs to be a poll question. We need to know. That would shock me. That would be a shocking result to me if the Eagles showed up and got beat 38-6 by Tampa Bay. Wow.
Yeah, that's my
kind of blew my mind with that one. It is your prediction. Hey, look, get your own prediction. If you don't like my prediction, get your own. I get it. I just don't, man. That would surprise me. All right, so let's get to some comments here before we go to our next break. I'm going to scroll up here and see what we got. Alpha Rob, no surprise there. He picked the Bills to beat the Patriots. Alpha Rob is a Bills fan. So that's a shocker. He's just as much of a homer as you are. But hey, stick by your team, right? You stuck by your team all season long, and even though I laughed at you, I think I owe you something, don't I? What did they finish at? Did they finish at 11?
No, 10-7.
Oh, see, I lucked out.
Yep.
I lucked out. All right. So then Alpha Rob says Pats are the most overrated team in the playoffs. Wow. Alpha Rob, what about the Patriots makes you think that they are overrated? Because what I've seen from the New England Patriots this year tells me that they were underrated prior to the season, that they were a team that nobody other than Wayne G here thought that they were going to be a 10 or 11 win team. Hell, I had them at 6 wins at the most. I said they're going to be lucky to win 6 games. And that's one of the teams that I was very wrong about. One of the few teams I was very wrong about this season. And this defense is very good. Mac Jones has proven that he's the real deal. And not only that, but they've got Bill Belichick to coach them into the playoffs. So I don't know what you're seeing that makes them overrated, but definitely let us know in the comments. We'll pull it up here. Maybe when we get back from break. Buck says TJ Watt will take 4 steps up the field and we will run under. KC, baby. Oh my God. I can't wait to pick this game and ruin everything that Buck stands for. But at any rate,
I have an unbiased take on who the actual most overrated team in the playoffs is, and that is the Tennessee Titans.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though they're getting King Henry back.
Getting King Henry back, I just don't believe in Ryan Tannehill. So this is a team that got a first-round bye, and I think he's going to cost them a first-round exit when they actually play.
You know what? I made that mistake when King Henry went down. I said, well, their season's over because you can't count on Ryan Tannehill to continue the trend. And without King Henry and with Ryan Tannehill, and depending on Ryan Tannehill, they maintained the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think people are underestimating this team. I think people have counted them out ever since King Henry got hurt. I don't think King Henry hurts them. I think King Henry helps them, obviously. I don't see... I have to see what the matchup is going to be first before I make a pick, because, I might pick against them, but I don't think that they're overrated by any stretch of the imagination.
It's going to be Tennessee, New England.
We're going to break. I'll be right back. I lost the button. Where'd the button go? We are back. Look, the chat is blowing up here. I want to get to a couple things real quick. First thing I want to get to is Drew saying nobody has given the Eagles a chance. The Eagles are scrappers. I think Tampa underestimates them. I disagree, Drew. I don't think Tampa or Tom Brady will underestimate anybody. That's just not. Look, Tom's done that throughout his entire career. Have you ever seen a Tom Brady-led team have a trap game? I've never seen it. I've never seen them just come out and look flat and just have a trap game where you just didn't expect them to not show up. So I don't know about you, Wayne, but I disagree with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Tom Brady could be playing against the local area high school team, and he wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Buck says Mac Jones is very Alex Smith-like, and that D is great. Do you think that Mac Jones is Alex Smith-like?
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy, and I'd take it. I'd take it all day long because Alex Smith is as good a game manager as there is. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't turn the ball over. Yeah, I'll take Alex Smith all day.
And then Buck says no need for predictions. It will be the Cowboys and Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
So then we asked Alpha Rob to let us know why he thought the Pats were overrated. And I want you to react to this. He says their quarterback and everything they do is overblown. They have no wide receivers and an average D-line and slow linebackers. Get him, Wayne.
Well, that's interesting. Well, first of all, I think that the first part of it's hilarious because it's like, why are they overrated? Because the players are overrated. I mean, yeah, great reasoning. But then secondly, we've got here that their defensive line is slow, which is not the case because their defensive line gets after people. And their linebackers are slow. Jamie Collins, who's one of the most athletic linebackers in the league. Matthew Judon looks like he runs a 4.2 out there.
Judon is a freak.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll give him no wide receivers. I'll give him that because I don't want to say no wide receivers because I think Bourne is a good wide receiver. I think that they have a decent wide receiving core. Aguilar is a good receiver. Myers is a good receiver. Just none of them are great. So I understand they don't have like a Calvin Johnson or Julio Jones out there, but I don't think you need it because they won 3 Super Bowls with Deion Branch. So they can win one without a superstar.
He says to even think Jones can beat the Bills is an insult to be the Bills' top-ranked defense.
Is it possible to insult anything about the Bills?
Look, I broke Alpha Rob's heart earlier in the preseason when I picked the Bills to go to the Super Bowl but lose again. He did not like that prediction. But look, Alpha Rob, I love your allegiance to your team. But sometimes you have to be realistic, right? Like I hate the Green Bay Packers. But I respect Aaron Rodgers and I respect what he does. And they've got a top 5 quarterback all time in Aaron Rodgers. They've got the best wide receiver right now. They got a top 5 running back right now. The Green Bay Packers are a good football team. And so you have to be able to give your opponents credit. You have to be able to respect some of their players sometimes. Hell, everybody knows me. I hate the freaking Cardinals with a passion. But I respect guys like Yadier Molina. I respect guys like Ozzie Smith and those types of guys that they've had run through that organization. They're a Class A organization over there in St. Louis. I just don't like them because they're our rival. But you have to be realistic sometimes. And I just don't think you're being very realistic when it comes to the Patriots because they are a very good team. That defense is the real deal. And if your Buffalo Bills underestimate them the way you're underestimating them, it's going to be a long day for you on Saturday night.
I mean, we're asking the opinion of a fan base that likes to Greg Louganis off the hood of their dump truck onto a folding table. So
No comment. Let's move on. So Wayne, we like to break things up a little bit sometimes and play some fun games. Would You Rather is actually one of those games that we like to play. We always at the end we throw one in that is just either funny or just out there, kind of grabs your attention a little bit. Sometimes it makes you say, "What the hell did I just watch?" So are you ready to play some Would You Rather?
I am, and those are the best kind of Would You Rathers, by the way.
All right, so the first one here. Would you rather take Edelman's bet of $100K for the Pats versus Bucks in the Super Bowl or bet against Tom Brady in every round?
So in its simplest form, what this is asking me is, do I think it's more likely that the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl or more likely that the Bucks lose to the Eagles? Well, I just said the Bucks are going to win 38-6, and I said that the Patriots are going to beat both the Bills and the Titans. They may lose to the Chiefs, but the odds suggest I should be betting with Edelman.
Yeah, look, I don't know if you've seen the video, but his parents' reaction to him telling them that he put $100,000 down for the Patriots to play the Bucks in the Super Bowl was absolutely priceless. I mean, they could not believe the fact that he actually just said that. But I like, you know, I never bet against Tom Brady. But look, if I'm betting against Tom Brady, I'm going to put small amounts down. $100K for the Patriots and in this NFL in the 2022 playoffs, where I just talked about how much parity there is in this league. I'm not betting on anybody making the Super Bowl this year. I'm not putting any money down in the playoffs this year because it is a fool's bet. There have been so many upsets this season. There have been so many things that you just did not see happening. Look, I will bet against Tom Brady in every round for $5 before I put $100K down on anybody to win anything in this NFL season.
All right.
All right. So next one here, Wayne, we've got, would you rather have Mac Jones or Ben Roethlisberger leading your team in the playoffs this year?
So good young Southern boy or Rapey McRaperson. And I'm going to go with Mac Jones in this one. It's a tough one, but I'm going with Mac. You know, he completes a higher percent of his passes. He throws for more yards. He throws more touchdowns. It's a no-brainer.
Oh my God. Have you seen that meme on Facebook that said, you know, it's a shame that the Raiders and Chargers didn't tie, because then Ben Roethlisberger's career could have ended on its own consent. Luckily for him, though, they dropped the Chargers.
I did see that. I thought it was actually pretty good.
I just kind of shake my head. Look, I don't want to get into this man's, you know, porous history and bad choices that he's made. I've actually, you know, been at a barbecue with Ben Roethlisberger and his family in the past, so I will refrain on that. It was kind of funny the way you said it, though. Look, you've got a guy who's won multiple Super Bowls, mm-hmm. and then you've got a rookie who looks like he could be the real deal. But we've seen it before where guys have just unbelievable seasons because nobody has, you know, any idea what they're going to be, and then they have good seasons and they become something that maybe they're not later on in their careers. And so for me, heading into this playoffs, I'm still going to go with Mac Jones because I think Ben Roethlisberger at this point in his career is just kind of holding on to playing, you know, with the football gods. Like he feels like they're going to will him to win another Super Bowl or something of that sort. The Pittsburgh Steelers seem like they might be that team too, that just finds a way to keep winning and keep extending Ben Roethlisberger's career. But if I'm going with a quarterback to lead my team, I'm going with Mac Jones.
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is actually worse in the playoffs than he is in the regular season, and he's not overly impressive in the regular season. So it's really, he's won 2 Super Bowls in the backs of his defense, which, not to say that didn't happen with a first-time starting quarterback for the New England Patriots way back in 2001. But, you know, sometimes it happens, and I think that Mac Jones is in that category. He could ride that defense all the way, and I think he manages the team. His teammates have tons of respect for him. You ever see, like, when he gets, like, a late hit and somebody hits him late, like 9 guys run over and start a fight? Like, he's got the total respect of his team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I mean, that happens with most quarterbacks, right? There's a few out there, like, you know, we saw a couple, you know, with Justin Fields, where none of his teammates ever came to his rescue. And then the second that a rookie came to his rescue, they kind of chastised him for it on national TV. But no, I agree with you. I think that Mac Jones is just, right now, he's just that guy. Moving on to the next one here. Would you rather have Kirk Cousins or Jameis Winston for the next 5 years?
So this is another tough one because Kirk Cousins is 5 years older than Jameis Winston. So we're looking at, would I rather have Kirk Cousins until age 38 or Jameis Winston until 33? And looking at their statistics, Cousins is the better quarterback statistically, and he's probably going to be the better quarterback statistically over the next 5 years. But the reason I would take Jameis Winston is because I can pay him less and it's easier to bench him when I have to, which is 1 year after I sign him.
You're out of your mind. Look, this man was 5-2 this year before he got hurt. They wanted him to stay in New Orleans. The organization wanted him. The head coach wanted him. Everybody wanted this guy to stay back. This was Drew Brees handing off the torch to him at the end of last season. Jameis Winston is the real deal. Jameis Winston, and we talk about this all the time. We have this argument. You're like on this mission because for whatever reason, you always want to try to get me to say that Jameis Winston is not as good as I say he is. Like you even brought it up that is Jameis Winston a top 5 quarterback on Facebook, right? On the Man Hour Facebook page. And I never said he was a top 5 quarterback. I said he's top 10, and he is top 10. And he's still a top 10 quarterback. This guy he knows how to win. He was proving it in New Orleans, like I said he would. He had this team at 5-2 before he ended up tearing his ACL. He was about to get unleashed by the New Orleans Saints, and then he got hurt. And so I would rather have Jameis Winston because I think that Jameis Winston is the real deal. I think Jameis Winston is top 10 in the NFL. Give me Jameis Winston over Kirk Cousins.
Well, and it's funny because it makes me think of how you acted about Tim Tebow. We remember being on this conversation years ago, and because I felt about Tim Tebow the way you feel about Jameis Winston, and I now see it. I understand how you felt and the frustration that you felt talking to me about it, because Jameis Winston threw for 59% this year and 146 yards per game, and you're like, he is a monster.
You said that he wasn't because he threw for 33 touchdowns or 33 interception, or I don't know, 30 interception, whatever it was. The year that he also threw was the only quarterback to throw for 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. So because he was throwing the ball over the place and gunslinging, you didn't like it. So now the fact that he wasn't throwing the ball over the place and gunslinging, and he was 14 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, you're going to ridicule him for the opposite effect of what he was doing as a quarterback. So basically, no matter what you look at with Jameis Winston, you just don't like Jameis Winston. So for you, Jameis Winston will never be a top anything quarterback.
Not true. When he completes 65% of his passes for 4,500 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions, I'll be on board with you.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, moving on. All right. So I always tell you that sometimes we throw these ones in there that are a little bit off and make you wonder what the hell are you watching. So if you're married, if your wife and your mother had a Freaky Friday thing go on and they switched bodies, would you rather make out with your wife's body, who is now your mother, or your mother's body, who is now your wife?
You know what I love about these is that you don't want to do either one, right? That's what makes it fun. Because you got it's a gun to your head situation, right? You got to pick one.
Yeah, I mean, you're stuck, and this is a tough one, man.
Yeah, wife's body. It's not even close.
What do you mean, wife's body? That's your mom.
Yeah, I don't care. It's just her mentality. You know, I can pretend it's my wife. You know, but you're gonna run your hands all over your mom's body. Come on.
This is a tough one, man.
It's not.
This is a tough one. What do you mean it's not tough? How is this not a tough one?
You're gonna go down on your mom because she's got your wife's personality. No. Okay.
I can't look. This is not one of the. This is a tough one because I said kiss, not go down. Now, what the hell
right.
did you go with it?
Okay.
Man. I think I'm with you. I think I'm with the wife's buck. Buck, man, there is something wrong with you. My mom got a nice butt though, he says. Jesus Christ, Buck. Anyway, I am yeah, I'm going with wife's body, even though it's my mom. I got it. I couldn't go like if I open my eyes and I see my mom, like just nope. Buck says, wait. Do you know that they switched? Yes, you know that they switched, obviously. Anyway.
The real correct answer, threesome, baby.
Oh, Combs, you didn't specify which lips to kiss. He's with you here. Go down on.
Yeah, I guess when you say would you rather, I mean, would you rather like smoochy smooch? I mean, that's not a tough decision. I mean, let's make it real hard.
Yeah, let's. Jeez, Crow. I took it to one level, and Wayne took it to a whole different level. This is left turn. Oh, God.
Which image is harder for you to get hard? Brought to you by Cialis.
And demonetized. I love the fact that people weren't playing around with any of these would you rathers until I got to that one. There was no answers on the would you rathers until we got to that one. Nobody cared about would you rather have Ben Roethlisberger or Mac Jones. Nobody wanted to weigh in on that. But as soon as I brought up this one, I was like, oh, well, yeah, I'm gonna do this one, or oh, I'm gonna do that one. Oh, God.
I like the person who's before they answer, they're staring at a picture of their wife and their mom and like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's probably a hard question for somebody, you know, who's an average Joe and whose mom's an average Joe. But imagine if you're the guy whose wife is or whose mom is Kaylee Cuoco, or whose mom is, you know, like Angelina Jolie. Like that might make it a harder choice, right? Or do you still see it the same way?
It's your mom. I don't care. Your mom, I don't care if she's Angelina Jolie or if she's Roseanne Barr. Your mom is Jabba the Hutt in your mind.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what if she's your stepmom?
Because
there's a
totally different ballgame.
There's a whole section on Pornhub for that.
Oh, and I've seen them all. That is my milieu.
Oh man, we went off the rails so bad here. All right, we're gonna catch our breath, and when we come back, we are gonna get back into the NFL playoffs. I don't know how we're gonna rebound from this. Stay with us. We'll be back 2 minutes. And welcome back to the best damn sports radio show on the planet. This is Man Hour. I'm your host, BC Brandon Combs, joined alongside me today by the man who took it to a whole new level a few minutes ago, Wayne G. If you have not yet done so, please click like, share, and subscribe on whichever platform you are watching. If you're watching us on Roku TV still, and you did not change it after that last segment, feel free to head over to youtube.com/manhour. If you miss any part of the show, you can subscribe. You can be a member for as little as $2.99 a month. Become a member of Man Hour Nation. Then head on over to manhourradio.com. Click on the merchandise tab. Pick up some Man Hour merchandise. We've got hoodies. We've got joggers. We've got T-shirts. We've got beanies. We've got phone cases. I've got one right here on my iPhone 11. We've got all sorts of stuff over there. Check them all out. I don't know what you guys are waiting for, but it's that time. And we're going to get back into the NFL playoffs. We started out with the first 3 games, Bengals, Raiders. We are both on the Bengals train. Then we got into Patriots, Bills, and Homer here picked the Patriots. I went with the Bills. And then Buccaneers, Eagles. We're both on the Bucks. I'm a little bit of a closer game. Wayne G had 38-6. 38-6 Bucks. God, I hope that's not a real thing on Sunday afternoon.
You can.
I really don't.
Bank.
Take it to the bank. All right, so we're gonna get into the second half of games here. Alpha Rob says off topic, but I had 2 sisters, not at the same time. But you know, oh God, good for you, living the dream.
He didn't say they were his sisters.
Yeah. No, that's only if you're an Alabama fan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So moving on into the playoffs. The next game is the 49ers and the Cowboys. This is going to be a great game. I think this is going to be the best game of the weekend. Who has a better game, though, for the Cowboys, Dak or Zeke?
Dak, easy. If you look at the last 3 games at the end of the season, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, 256 and 3, 304 and 5 touchdowns. Whereas Zeke had 9 carries, 18 carries. He actually had 9 games this year where he had less than 15 carries. So Mike McCarthy does not like to run the ball. He's not going to run the ball in the playoffs. It's going to be Dak.
Yeah, I'm going with you there, too. I'm going with Dak. As much as I would like to see Zeke get it going and like to see what he can do on the ground in this offense, you're right. Mike McCarthy just does not run the ball. He is a pass-happy head coach. He's always been a pass-happy head coach. But I've got to go with Dak on this one. Dak is such a special talent at quarterback as well. I really do like Dak Prescott. What are your Cowboys' keys to victory?
Target CeeDee Lamb as much as possible. That guy is a special receiver. And if you want to win games and if you're going to air the ball out, I would target him 15 to 20 times.
Yeah. So for me, it's on the defensive side of the ball. You've got to get them to turn over the ball. The San Francisco 49ers are 7-0 this year when Jimmy G does not throw an interception. And the Dallas Cowboys are one of the best defenses at turning the ball over. And you got Trayvon Diggs over there who interception machine. I believe what he finished the season with 11 or 12 this year. He was just phenomenal. And so that to me is the key for the Dallas Cowboys. Turn the ball over, get that interception and win this game. What do you got for the 49ers?
Establish the run and set up the play action. The reality is that Jimmy G does not have a big arm. He's got the quickest release in the NFL, so he lives on that short pass route. If they don't establish the run and he's throwing on 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s, it's going to be a really long day for the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball here as well, and it's going to be for them to contain Dak Prescott, force them to go to Zeke or to Tony Pollard. You've got to force them to run the ball. You've got to rush the passer as much as you can. Don't give Dak time. Don't let him get comfortable. You've got to do what you do best in San Francisco, and you've got to play that hard-nosed defense. So those are my keys for the San Francisco 49ers. Who do you got winning this game, and what's the score?
I have the 49ers winning this game 23-21.
Wow. Okay. I like that pick. That's a gutsy pick. I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys in this one, and I'm actually going to a pretty close score like you have, and I'm going 23-20. The Dallas Cowboys to me are a real team. I know Buck picked them, preseason to go to the Super Bowl. I'm still on their train. I still think they're a little bit better than San Francisco is right now. I don't know how deep this team is going to make a run, but at home, I give them the edge. They find a way to win 23-20.
All right.
All right. So then we get into the Sunday night game. And that Sunday night game is going to be another good one. We've got the Steelers and the Chiefs. This is going to be a barn burner. This could be Big Ben's last game. Does Big Ben have it in him to make a deep run?
He doesn't even have it in him to win this game. So he's done. It's an easy no for me.
Wow. I'm going to say Big Ben finds a way. I don't know how much he has in him. But I'm going to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers can absolutely find a way to win this game and continue Big Ben's career. So we'll see how that plays out. What's your Kansas City Chiefs key to victory?
Don't give up the big play, because basically if you give up the big play, you're toast. I don't think that the Steelers are good enough to march up and down the field. They're going to live and die by that, a big 48, 50 yard, touchdown pass. Don't give it up. As long as they don't give up any big scoring plays, they're going to be fine.
Yeah, that's my key to victory too, is to not get into a shootout. If you don't get into a shootout, you can win this game. If you get into a shootout, that Kansas City offense has not shown that they can score on good defenses. And that's what we have here in Pittsburgh, is a good defense. Do not get into a shootout, and you can win this game. You can win a tight game here. What is your key to victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Run, 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 screen, run. Do not let Patrick Mahomes and that offense on the field.
Yeah, so for me, it is defense, defense, defense. TJ Watt is the key to this game. If TJ Watt can get into Mahomes' face, force him out of the pocket, get him on the run and get to him, that is going to be the key to this, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Kansas City Chiefs offense has just been at disarray all season long. They're still not scoring well. They're not putting up a ton of points like we've seen the Kansas City Chiefs do in the last couple of seasons. They're not the same Kansas City Chiefs that we've seen. So in order to do that, you've got to contain Patrick Mahomes. I know that's the obvious answer, but TJ Watt is the guy that's going to be able to do that. TJ Watt is going to be the guy that can create havoc. So to me, that's the key to victory here, is TJ Watt and that Pittsburgh defense. Who you got winning, and what's the score?
Chiefs 34-10.
Wow, another blowout.
Yep.
Wow.
I just don't think they can put points on the board, and I think Kansas City can.
Mike Buckheister, close your ears. Pittsburgh Steelers 24, Kansas City Chiefs 20. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers in this one. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers find a way. I think they create havoc, and I think they score just enough. It's just something about this Pittsburgh Steelers team, the way they're playing right now, the way they're rallying around Big Ben in his final season, the things that they are doing. That defense is really, really good. And the Chiefs struggle with really good defenses. And they're going to struggle again this Sunday night. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to put up just enough points to win it at Arrowhead. Pittsburgh 24-20.
See, I don't think that offense has 24 points in it. So you got to be counting one of those as like a defensive touchdown.
It's possible. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility. I don't care if the defense scores all 24 points. 24-20 is going to be the final score. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then we get into Monday night's game. And to me, this game, first of all, I don't like a Monday Night Football playoff game. Do you like a Monday Night Football playoff game?
Nope, stupid.
I think it's stupid too. I think it puts one of the teams and I know it's only one day, but really it's 2 days of a disadvantage, because you play on Monday night. You're not going to get up and practice on Tuesday morning. It puts the team at a disadvantage. I don't like it. This was a complete money grab by the NFL. But you got the Cardinals and the Rams. And the Cardinals are a team that I've been on all season long. I picked them to be 15-2 before the season started. I still think that they might have been close to that had Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins not got hurt. This team is so damn good, and they're getting J.J. Watt back. I like what this team is. And so I've got a question for you here, though. Does Kyler have a career game like Cliff Kingsbury expects him to?
So when I saw this in the rundown, I had to do some research into what constitutes a career game for Kyler Murray. And looking over some of his better career games, even this year, he had 400 yards against Minnesota, 3 touchdowns, but he also had 2 picks that game. He had 383 yards against the Rams earlier in the season, but 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So for me, a career game would be 350 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Yes, he does have that game against this Rams team. I do not think that they are going to be able to stop him. He's going to have a breakout game.
Yeah, I think so too. Look, I think that the Arizona Cardinals are I think that this might be the most underrated team heading into the playoffs because of how they struggled down the stretch. After Kyler went down, after Hopkins went down, losing 4 out of 5, like they had a rough stretch of it. But this team is so damn good, and Kyler Murray is so damn good. And people, you liken him to Russell Wilson. I think a lot of that has to deal with size. I think that after it's all said and done, we're going to be talking about Kyler Murray being better than Russell Wilson. I think we're going to be comparing Kyler Murray to some other great quarterbacks. So I think he can have a career game. Will it happen in this one with that Rams defense remains to be seen. The last time that they went into LA, though, they smacked the Rams right in the mouth. And they kissed their mom hello, like we said we wouldn't do. And they went in and they took care of business in LA. So I do think that it's possible that he has a career game. What is your Cardinals' key to victory?
Do not let Matt Stafford have time to throw the football. Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, Marcus Goldson have to get after Matthew Stafford and make him make quick decisions and quick throws.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. You cannot let Matt Stafford have time. Matt Stafford is a great quarterback, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in NFL history because of the team that he played on with the Detroit Lions throughout his career. You can't let this man have time. You can't let him have time to pick you apart, and you can't let them stay in the game. You've got to keep them down. When Kyler puts the ball in the end zone and when your team puts the ball in the end zone, you can't let them come back and tie this game. You've got to allow your team to take a 2 or 3 score lead. And so that's my key to victory for the Arizona Cardinals as well, is that defense. Get after Matt Stafford. What is your key to victory for the Rams?
Contain the edge. They have to hold the edge because we know that Aaron Donald's going to create pressure up the middle. Do not be surprised if Kyler Murray rolls out to his left and his right about 50 times in this game. But you have to contain the edge because Kyler Murray will run for 150 yards if you don't.
Yeah, mine is going to be on the opposite side of the ball. I'm going on the offensive side of the ball here, and I'm going with Cam Akers. You've got to establish the run early and often with Cam Akers. You've got to get him some touches. You've got to get him, let him break out some 5 or 8 yard gains because that will force them to stop blitzing so much, and that will ease up time for Matt Stafford. That'll do the opposite of what we said needed to happen for the Cardinals. It'll allow them to establish time for Matt Stafford to get his reads, to get his checkdowns, to do everything he needs to do to be Matt Stafford and win this game. So I'm going with Cam Akers as my key to victory here for the Rams. Who you got winning this game, and what's the score?
This is going to be contradictory to my previous statement when I said that I think that Kyler Murray could have 4 touchdowns this game. I have the Rams winning 27-17, so no more than 2 touchdowns for the Cardinals.
Wow. I'm going to go with Cardinals here. I think Kyler is just that damn good. I think that this Cardinals team is starting to click again. They get J.J. Watt back. They find a way to shut down the Rams at home again. Kyler does his thing. The Cardinals win this game 34-17.
Oof, that's a really bad pick.
That is a great pick. The Cardinals were my Super Bowl pick preseason. I am sticking with them. And the Cardinals play great on the road. They do. They're 8-1 this season on the road. The Rams sort of struggle on at home. They also another thing with the Rams is if they take their foot off the gas too soon. Right? They tend to get a little bit of a lead. You saw it in that Niners game, the last game of the season, where they tend to get a lead and then they just take their foot off the gas and the other team just comes storming back. And you can't do that against a team like the Arizona Cardinals. And they might jump out to a 7-0 lead, and it might be early and it might be quick, and then they're going to find themselves in some trouble. I think Arizona wins this one and wins this one easily.
I just think if I'm the Rams and you lose to Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals, it might be time for Sean McVay to find a new job.
Really?
Yep. You can't lose this game. You can't. The Cardinals are a young team. They've got a young coach. They haven't been there. You've got a veteran team that has been there. You've got a fast defense. You've got Jalen Ramsey. You got Von Miller. You've got, Aaron Donald, who is probably the best defensive player in the history of the NFL, even better than LT. There's no way you can lose this game.
God, I hope Sean McVay does become available. The Bears got a vacancy.
You're making the call for him, right?
Oh, God. I'll go drive and pick him up. I will drive to L.A. God, that would be
just bag over his head in the trunk. You drop him off at like the foot of the stadium. Like, hey, I got a present for you guys.
I don't even care if the Bears hire somebody between now and then, which it sounds like they will. Rumor here in Chicago is that they're going through all these interviews early because they're going to wait and then go after Jim Harbaugh, which I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't see Jim Harbaugh leaving Michigan to come to work under McCaskey and Ted Phillips.
I see Jim Harbaugh going everywhere. They said the Dolphins are all in on Jim Harbaugh. That's why they got rid of Brian Flores, even though he had a good season, 2 good seasons. So,
well, the thing with Brian Flores that I'm hearing is that Brian Flores had it in with the GM. Like the GM wanted to tank. Brian Flores said no, screw that, and decided to win games anyway. This is a couple years ago, and then I've heard that he's him and he was not a big fan of the Tua draft pick. He did not want Tua. And then you had Brian Flores. I've heard that in the locker room telling Tua he wishes they would have went and got Deshaun Watson, telling Tua they should have drafted Mac Jones. Like, I mean, just berating his quarterback. So I think that there's a lot more behind the scene. I like Brian Flores. If the Bears announced tomorrow that they were hiring Brian Flores, I'd be okay with that hire. I think that he knows how to win football games. I think he knows how to do some stuff with young talent, as he's shown in Miami. And I think Miami is eventually going to regret that they let Brian Flores go.
Yeah, I like him too. I was kind of hoping that the Patriots would sign him as an advisor.
Yeah. God, don't even get me started on advisors. The Bears. Oh, it's okay. I know. Ted Phillips and George McCaskey can't hire anybody to save their damn lives, as they've proven over the last 21 years. Yeah, we're gonna make the hire again, but this time we're gonna have Bill Polian come in and sit in on the interviews with us. Really? 79-year-old Bill Polian, who had like 5 busted drafts through the last 5 years. He was in Indianapolis, and that's why they canned him. Oh, that's the guy you're gonna bring in to be your voice of reason, not like Brian Urlacher or Lance Briggs or Olin Kreutz. You're bringing in Bill Polian. Okay.
Yeah.
Good idea. God, let's not talk about the Bears right now. Anyway, we are actually going to end the show here. We've run up against it a little bit. And we've gotten through all of our picks. So you want to go through God, I just realized what time it was.
Yeah,
we're a little
9:30.
early.
Well, 9:30 my time, 8:30 your time.
Yeah, we're a little early here. You want to just kind of get into a couple other things off the cuff?
Yeah, I can do whatever. I don't have my research, but I can pretend I do.
I can pretend I do. So we were going to talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. We didn't get to that earlier. They met today with the Players Association. No deal was struck, which I didn't expect there to be a deal struck anyway. I felt like they were going to meet today. People are like, "Oh, I can't believe there was no progress." Well, there was progress. They met today, and that's progress from what they've done over the last few weeks, which is not meet. And so there was progress there. I think they're going to meet a couple more times prior to February. I think they're by early February to mid-February, we'll have a deal struck. We might miss a couple of preseason games, but I think the season will start on time. You have any feelings on the fact that, do you think we'll miss any regular season games?
No, I don't think at all. I'd even be surprised if we missed preseason games, to be honest with you. I was looking at the issues between the two sides, and they're really not that far apart in any of these issues.
Yeah.
It's not like they're going for a salary cap or non-guaranteed contracts. I mean, they're talking about whether the luxury tax should be 220 or 245. You know, whether you should be a free agency at 29 and a half or 5 years or 29 and a half. You know, it's just little tiny tweaks, which is pretty easy to get through.
Well, the big one is that last one that you were talking about, is that the players want to get paid more earlier in their careers. And I really don't blame. I'm with the players on this side of it, because you look at some of these players that come in and they're 23, 24 years old if you're really, really good, you get into the league when you're 23, 24 years old. Right. And then you're on a 7-year rookie deal in which you have to go to arbitration every year. And, most anybody ever makes an arbitration is maybe like I think Chris Bryant set the record a few years back with like a $1.5 million arbitration settlement the year after they won the World Series and he was the MVP. That to me is insane. I think allowing these guys to go to maybe like a football type rookie deal where it's only like a 4 or 5 year rookie deal, allowing these guys to get paid a little bit more earlier, maybe even having a restructured arbitration type thing where they can make more money, maybe make comparable to other players in the league. So like Chris Bryant making close to what Nolan Arenado makes if he's a rookie, but or a second-year player who wins the MVP and leads his team to a World Series victory. Compare him to a top guy and give him a certain percentage of that, as opposed to, saying, hey, yeah, thanks for all your efforts. And now he's an injured, injury-prone 30-year-old who is in a contract season and is out there not knowing who's going to sign him or what is going to, and he's not going to make anywhere near what he would have made in 2017 or 2018. So I agree with that side with the players. One of the things that I've talked about, other than that too, is I don't think that they should ever ask for a salary cap in baseball, neither the owners nor the players. I think they should ask for a salary floor. I think you need to force teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who get salary, they have revenue sharing in baseball, right? So, if these teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Cubs and these big market teams, the Dodgers, that make all this money, they share with the little guys who don't make as much money. But then you see a team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who generate I think it was like $1 billion or $1.2 billion in revenue last year, and their payroll heading into this year is $40 million. Mm-hmm. And that's you're just not competitive. You're not trying to be competitive. And I think they need to force teams like that, teams like the Pirates, teams like the Marlins, teams like the Tampa Bay Rays, who are always competitive, but then dump salary and don't want to re-sign their guys after their rookie deals. You force those teams to become competitive. You force those teams maybe have a salary floor of $100 million where you force them to spend, especially if they're getting other teams' money. They should be forced to put that into payroll to become a competitive team. It's better for the game. It's better for the players. It's better for the fans.
See, I think that obviously any negotiation is give and take, and it's not a good deal unless both sides are bleeding from it. So for me, what I think is, if you're going to go with a 5-year, like we give these rookie year, 5-year deals, right? Some of these kids you're drafting at 18 years old, and they're not going to make it to the show until they're 21. They're not going to play a full season until they're 22. So you're really only getting them for like a year and a half. And so my take on it is this, is if you give them a 5-year rookie deal, the trade-off is if you lose them in free agency, you can either get the team that signs them, you can either get their first round pick or their number 1 prospect, whichever you choose.
I'm with the pick. I wouldn't be with the prospect.
Because you're losing your prospect. He's 23 years old, and you're going to lose him.
Yeah, but you're losing him to free agency, and you're losing him to a team that's signing him, and a team that has put time and effort into developing that number one prospect that they have as well. You're losing your guy because you're choosing not to re-sign him.
Well,
not because you're losing him, but you're choosing not to re-sign him.
Well, not for 10 years and 490 million or whatever it is, right? I mean,
right, but that's still your choice not to sign him. I mean, it's your choice to let him go, to walk via free agency. My objection to that would be, well, then you should have traded him and got something for him while you had him. Or, but I'm with the draft pick. Like, I could see draft pick compensation if you let a guy go, after the third year of his rookie deal, and you let him walk. You get 3 years of arbitration to work it out.
They already have that. If you tender him, then you get the first round pick the following year from the team that signs him. So you already have that. I'm
talking about restructuring it though. So like, if you, instead of having him under control for 7 years, which is what a team does, that's why you see a lot of these guys who are good enough to come up with the team at the beginning of the season that stay down till May 15th, because then they lose a year of service time. And a team gains the 7th year of control. You, instead of having that, you only have 3 years of control. And then you have 3 years of arbitration, of paying him whatever the arbitration is worth. And then at the end of that third year, if you can't come to a long-term deal with the player, then that's your problem. And you have to let him walk, and you have to let him become a free agent. Maybe you can re-sign him. Maybe you don't want to re-sign him. Whatever the case is, it forces teams to spend money. I'm not one of these guys out there, and I know you're not one of those guys either. We've talked about this in the past. I'm not one of these guys that thinks that these guys are overpaid athletes. Like, I think that they, if anything, they're underpaid. I don't believe that baseball players are overpaid, no matter how much money you give them. The highest contract in baseball right now is the Mike Trout contract, right? And so I don't believe Mike Trout is overpaid, because nobody goes to the ballpark to see the owner. Nobody goes to the ballpark to see the GM. Nobody goes to the ballpark to see the hot dog guy or whatever the case is. No, people are there to see Mike Trout. People are there to watch the players play the game. The players generate the revenue. I get business. I understand business. I run a business. Like, I understand all of that aspect. I understand the owners are always going to make more money. I understand that. But there has to be some sort of give back to the players that are generating all of this revenue for you.
Well, here's why. And you mentioned the salary floor, and I agree with that, but I think you also have to have a salary cap. And the reason for that is this. If you have a salary floor and no cap, then what you're going to get is you're going to get the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Angels and the Dodgers signing everybody's best players, but you're going to be forcing teams like the Rays to spend $200 million on not their best players, but on scrubs, because all their best players are still going to go to the Yankees, who can have $1 billion.
Well, they don't have a cap now. They don't have a cap now. They have a luxury tax.
They don't have a floor either. And I'm saying, if you're going to put a floor in, you have to have a cap.
Well, why not just have the floor but keep the luxury tax? And then those that choose to go over it pay the luxury tax. Like, the Yankees have gone over it a bunch. The Red Sox have gone over it some. Because you've got teams that are willing to go over it. Then you got teams that aren't willing to go over it.
Because it doesn't penalize them enough. That's why they're willing to go over it. And that's why I'm saying it's a downside that if you're one of these small market teams, if you're going to force me to pay, but you're still going to let the big market clubs come in and rape my roster, you're telling me that I have to pay $20 million to a AAA player just to keep the salary floor. Whereas if you tell them that they can't spend $250, but they have to spend $200, and the same goes for me, then I still might have a chance of keeping some of my talent that I've developed, because now instead of paying $30 million to that AAA player, because he's the only guy left on my roster, I can give $30 million to my best player because the Yankees can't afford him because they're up against the cap.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, you put it that way. I definitely, I'm with you there. I think they've got to do something. I think both sides need to make some concessions. I know another thing that the owners are asking for is the playoff restructuring. For whatever reason, the players union don't want to see more teams in the playoffs. That doesn't make sense to me. You make more money when you're in the playoffs, more teams in the playoffs, more opportunity. It doesn't make sense to me that the players union is against that. It's almost like well, if you're not going to pay us, we aren't going to agree to anything you say. And it's a little bit of the penis measuring contest, right? Where, you're saying no to paying us early. Well, we don't want expanded playoffs, and neither one of those makes sense. So I like the expanded playoff structure. I like what baseball has proposed is the expanded playoff structure and allowing the top seeded teams to pick their opponent in the first round. To me that just adds added suspense, right? Like we had it last year where the Yankees said, "Hey, we want the Red Sox. If we're going to play, we want the Red Sox," and they got the Red Sox and they got their asses beat. Like that's the type of stuff that I want to see. Like that just adds that added element to baseball, to the playoffs. It's going to get more people involved in it as well because that's just that added drama effect, right? And so I think baseball's got to do a lot better job of marketing itself. I think baseball's got to do a lot better job of marketing its players. And I think baseball's just got to do a better overall job of honestly finding a commissioner. Because Rob Manfred is a freaking he's just like he reminds me of that kid that nobody wants to play with, and so what he does is he goes out and he finds the big bad bullies who nobody wants to be around or nobody wants to be bothered by. And he just hangs out with them just because, like that. That's the guy is such a clown. I can't stand that guy. And, the fact that they just fired one of their best sports writers and one of their best sports reporters because he said the truth about Rob Manfred being a clown, because he spoke the truth, they fired him for it. And that's where baseball is lacking. And it's got to change. And it's got to change quickly. And the owners need to recognize that.
Need to pony up the cash to steal Adam Silver from the NBA.
What they need to do is just offer me the job.
Just you. Huh?
I look. I will do it for 1/10 of what you pay Rob Manfred. I will, and I will work the rest of my life until the day I die as the commissioner. And I promise you, the game would be a lot better.
Well, I would do it for 1/15, and I make all the same promises.
Yeah, but you're not a baseball guy.
For a 15th of the commissioner's salary, that
would be. Oh man! And then you could hire me, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, perfect. Win-win. Win-win. All right. Well, we're gonna get out of here. Wayne, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Absolutely. Obviously, Good Pods. I'm a huge advocate for Good Pods. So download it. It's a free app. You can listen to any podcast, Man Hour, Rogan, Stern, whatever you like to listen to, it's on Good Pods. But they really push indie podcasts, the smaller guys. And so go on Good Pods, look for Recasted 2.0. We take movies that are at least 20 years old. We put modern day casts to them, and you can vote. You go on Twitter, you can vote for whose cast you like the best. And usually it's mine, but people like to mess with me sometimes and pick Jesse's cast, which he's about to get hammered in this next episode.
Who does that?
Because I got some insight into how he makes his picks, and it is not going to go over well when I beat the crap out of him next episode.
Oh boy. Can't wait to see this one. I can't wait to be on. I can't wait to do a recasted episode with you. That's going to be a lot of fun. We are also on Good Pods. We right now, I believe we were Buck was telling me something like I haven't looked at it. 3rd ranked sports podcast or something, or indie pod. Like, I don't know how it works, but I like it. Good Pods. Go on there. You rate the recasted pod. Rate Man Hour. Find us all on there. Man Hour Nation. Rise up.